Exactly. Cheryl.
Hi.
Brilliant.
I have to
Oh, hello, Cheryl. I'm sitting here waiting eagerly to share what's been going on in your life, and now since I'm talking about I'm adding a session to Way of Impeccability. You'll see when you get there about living with the Force. Using some Star Wars logic, or Star Wars terminology at least, or example anyway. So you see, I made up my own Star Wars story. But so how's the Force been in your life? What's it been doing? How have you been connecting to it? What's it been bringing into your life? What moreness, what magic has been happening? Anything
it's a good
anomalous?
question. I've been kind of going through the motions. I don't have a lot of magic to report this week.
We'll see about that.
Or I'm just not being aware and I'm going through the
That's more like it. Yes, magic comes in all sorts of ways. We're not always aware of it. Yeah.
I can't think of a single aha moment.
Never mind. What has been?
Susie knows what's going on with the neighbors.
Oh, that's what I'm waiting to hear. Let's hear.
Share that.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Tell us all about it.
I think you'll see an aha in there. Go ahead.
Okay. So I think it was Friday. I was reading a book, sitting in silence in my house. I was the only one home. And I hear this yelling, like really raging kind of yelling.
Wow.
I thought, something's happening below me. And, nosy rosy me, I had to go out on the deck and check it out.
Yeah, good.
And I go out on the deck and I realize it's up on my road, which is on all the other side of the house and up the hill. That's where the voices are coming from. So I thought, oh my God, it's my neighbors. So I go up to the top of the steps in front of my house and look down the road. And the neighbor on one side, his name is Jean-Francois. He's from Paris. He's very unpopular in the neighborhood. He complains about everything and stops people on the road. And for instance, this is a Jean-Francois. Somebody thought his little bin at the top of the road was his garbage, and they picked up a dog poopy and threw it in there in a bag. He took that bag, he nailed it to a tree and put a big sign, a handwritten letter on it to let people know not to throw their dog poopy in his bin.
Wow. What's his bin for? What's the bin for?
It used to be for garbage cans, but now that they've issued us these big, enormous cans we have to use, I don't know what he keeps in there. Maybe gardening tools. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe some places separate out garbage and like fresh, like organic stuff, like clippings and stuff like that.
I don't know. I mean, but he nailed the dog poop bag to a tree.
At least he's thorough and he makes his points very clear.
Yeah. He don't mince any words.
So anyway, so he nails it. So anyway, he's up there, and the neighbor on the other side are the Penningtons. That's where the doggy is that I babysit. And Ross and Diane are the married couple. Cindy is Diane's sister. They used to have a gaggle full of kids, and now they live just the three of them there. And him and Ross, well, he's screaming at the top of his lungs at Ross. His hands are flailing. He's running up the road, pointing at something. Then he's running back down and he's throwing his hands at something else. Wow. And Ross is just like trying to stay away from him and backing up. And I can't really hear it because Jean-Francois' accent is so thick. His French accent, but I heard him say, "Oh, look at you working man, you're fat," he said to him.
Wow.
You're a working man, you're fat, he said. He said, you're a disgrace to the neighborhood.
Wow. So it's okay to be fat if you're not a working man?
Yes.
Yes. In his mind.
Interesting.
So
Anyway.
I'm standing at the top of my road, kind of hiding behind a bush, not very successfully. And he looks my way and he goes, Cheryl! And he throws his arm out and I'm like, I'm out. I went back down the steps. I hid around the side of the house under the deck because I didn't want him knocking on my door.
Yeah. Wow.
So the next day, I'm coming home from work and he's at the top of he's up on the road in front of his house. So I slowed down and I put down the window and he like sheepishly kind of looked at me. And I said, Jean-Francois, are you okay? Because his behavior was just lunatic. It was just beyond. And I said, Jean-Francois, are you okay? He says, yes, I'm okay. I'm a little embarrassed. And it was 15 years I've been putting up with them and him leaving garbage up by the road and his building materials everywhere. And I said,
oh,
have you seen 1013? That's our address.
You went straight there. You went straight there. Right there. Right there, Cheryl. Right there. Sorry to interrupt the story, but that's a big, huge, pivotal point. You went right to the heart of the issue for Jean-Francois.
Because he's always had this weird attraction to Greg. Like anything Greg does is completely okay, but he absolutely abhors the Penningtons. And let me tell you something about Ross Pennington. He doesn't even have a Greg Matei starter kit in his driveway.
He doesn't even have a what?
Starter kit. Yeah. He does a starter kit, meaning like a little kid's box of crayons. Okay. Yeah. We've got the deal in our driveway. Yeah. He's got a couple of things laying around. You know, he's not even a Greg in training. I mean, please.
Wow. But still, you know, you went to the heart of it psychologically for Jean-Francois, you know.
Yeah. So
you gave him that out. You opened the door for him, which is very gracious, very diplomatic. It's very insightful. See my point? There's a lot that he obviously is going to Ross because of this stuff that 1013 bothering him, and he can't go directly there. And you saw that, and now you're saying, and then you see 1013. So I'm elaborating on the sophistication of what you did so that you can be aware of it. Yeah. I mean, I'm just emphasizing it because it's really huge. You saying right away, oh, did you see 1013? So all right. So what did he say?
So he said, yeah, and he was like kind of reluctant to acknowledge that
it's
1013, like I said, is like a massive oil painting, and Ross Pennington is like a little box of crayons. And he said, yes, he said, I tell Greg all the time, I will help him. And I said, Jean-Francois, you need to be clear with him. He won't listen to me. He must think I have some sort of ulterior motive to wanting him to clean up this junkyard he's created on our property. And I said, you need to tell him directly, Greg, I can't deal with this anymore. It's not fair to make your neighbors part of your whatever it is that you're doing here. And
very powerful. Again, strategically, you're pressing Greg from the outside.
Yeah.
And that's important. Sometimes we can't deal with things directly and we need to press from the outside. So very,
well, I mean,
very
Greg seems to think it's okay with the neighbors that he does what he does. And it really isn't. He's just the nicest guy in the world. So nobody wants Greg to not like them. And he plows your driveway and he does little things for you. So let's not piss him off.
Yeah.
So, I said, the next chance you get, I said, the next chance you get, please talk to Greg. Tell him how you feel. So I went in the house, everything's fine. So the next day I come home from work, Jean-Francois was waiting for me.
Wow.
And man, I was so tired. It's like my second day, it's a Sunday, I'm exhausted.
Oh.
And he's waiting for me. And he wants me to come over to his house and sit down and talk to him. And I said, I just really can't right now. I just don't, mentally, I'm not ready for that. He said, well, I want to show you something. I said, okay. So I walk over into his yard with him, and we live in like a wooded area. So there's really no clear separation between their property and our property.
Wow.
But there's a little pathway that you can walk through to get from my driveway to his backyard.
Mm-hmm.
So I walk over through that pathway with him, and I'm facing his house. And he said, now turn around. And I said, okay. I turned around, and now I have his view from his yard into our driveway area. And it was shameful. I'm sure my jaw hit the ground.
That was very insightful, or sophisticated from Jean-Francois.
Yeah.
To do that,
Yeah.
and he made the point graphically. Now I hope he repeats this with Greg.
So he says, this is what I have to look at. And I was so embarrassed.
Yeah. So please ask him to do that exact same thing with Greg. Invite him to look at the garden, enjoy his beautiful garden, his sophisticated, nice, wonderful garden, and then ask him to turn around. The exact same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's important. I mean, ask him specifically to do it exactly the same as he did with you. Because that will, I will really feel it will have an impact on Greg as well. He needs that shock. No words. He needs that visual shock.
Well, I talked to Greg and I said, listen, hon, you need to put this in your mind that the time has come. The neighbors have noticed what you've been doing around our house even though you might not want to admit it, over the last 15 years, it just continues. It wouldn't have been so bad if you would have had some, some stones out there with a cover over it. Now you have a massive pile of wood and steel and brick and stone and just junk. It's just junk. And you keep adding to it and adding to it because it's on the other side of the driveway, so nobody sees it. Well, Jean-Francois sees it. And you need to take care of this. Another thing Jean-Francois had said to me was that, about 15 years ago, Greg took him up to see his tractor trailers on the farm. And I said, what? Tractor trailers on what farm? Oh, up near Bangor. He's got 2 big trailer loads and they're full of stuff. And he's got stuff piled all around it. Still, I never even knew this area existed. And apparently it's been there for 15 years. And so that, you know what I mean? There we go again with, lying by omission kind of thing. And I'm thinking, how could you keep something like that from me for 15 years? It goes to show you, when you leave the house and you tell me you're going one place, you're lying.
Yeah, it's part of his condition though.
So I said to him so I brought up about the tractor trailers, and he said, oh, I did that a long time ago. And I said, yeah, but you never told me, like, ever, that you were doing something like, I said, listen, you need to clear your summer. You need to clear your calendar. You need to spend this summer on 1013. Let's focus on 1013. And he didn't say too much, but that night, that was on a phone call. And then that night when he got home, I said, have you thought about what we talked about? And he said, yeah, I'll do something about it.
Did you tell him about Jean-Francois going off on Ross?
Yes. I did. I told him that on Friday evening. He thought that he goes, he thought that Jean-Francois might have a problem.
Well, I mean, did you make it?
Never for 1 minute thinking, I'm next. I'm next.
Yeah, right. He said, was he drunk? Because I talked to him the other night and I could smell alcohol on him, and maybe he got drunk again. So
Jean-Francois or
Jean-Francois.
Greg?
Greg said this about Jean-Francois. I talked to him the other night and I could smell alcohol.
Interesting. That, because that's been him lately.
Yeah, it's his deflection. Yeah. It's to try to get the, that's his deflection. And he usually deflects, the reason whenever we would have really good conversations where I would get to the heart of any matter, he would say, well, the reason I did this is because you fill in the blank. It was always something I did.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't have done that, but you,
you
know what I mean? So that's just his modus operandi. So then he says to me, and I think this is key, well, I'm going to take care of it, but I don't want Jean-Francois' help. And I said, oh, so now it's Jean-Francois who's the enemy. Cheryl's not the enemy anymore. Jean-Francois is the enemy. And I said, he's not the enemy. He cares about you. There's a lot of other things he could do besides help you clean it up. Trust me. He could be getting an attorney. He could be going to the code officer. He could be doing a lot of different things. Mm-hmm. But instead, he's offering to help you. Why does that make him the enemy? Well, I'll do something about it. Yeah. And then it occurs to me a little bit later, those words, I'll do something about it. You know what that means? That means he's going to move it
somewhere else. Right.
Somewhere else.
Yeah.
He's going to find a spot of some unsuspecting nice person and say, can I store some things here? And they're going to say yes. And they're going to wake up tomorrow morning and find a big pile of garbage in their yard.
I'll build you a deck, or I'll remodel your side of your house. And that's what he does.
So I have an idea on that. What if he were to open up a business with all of the stuff, basically a giant scrapyard, a building materials yard? I mean, there are plenty of those around. And now, okay, it's serving. Some people can come and buy the stuff, and he can dump more.
That's absolutely counter to his disease. A few years back, I was babysitting for a dog up in Freemansburg, and they were having a citywide yard sale while I was going to be staying at these people's house. And I said, Greg, how about I take a bunch of stuff up there? If it sells, it sells. You can put a price on whatever you want, and we'll put some stuff out, and maybe we can, get rid of some things that we don't need. He goes, you can do what you want, but don't you dare lay a hand on anything that belongs to me.
Yeah, but that may just be because you were saying to do it, not him. It may be a loss of control issue.
I gave him the opportunity to set prices, put a tag on it, what you want to sell it for, and let me give it a try. He wouldn't even let me. I mean, not even a book.
Yeah, his resistance is hyper high, his resistance.
Yeah.
He's become very defensive anytime somebody even says the word save or hoard or junk. You watch his facial expression. He
just shuts down. The
or he starts to get angry. He starts to get angry now. Where before he used to go.
There's guilt involved in this.
He sees every single last item as an extension of self. Yeah. It's like me asking him to put a price on his right foot and let me take it to a yard sale. He sees it as an extension of him. That's his, and he's got a plan for it. Don't touch it. I mean, it is so deep. But here's the situation. Jean-Francois is not going to just let this go. Greg is not going to be, I don't think Greg's going to be able to manipulate him this time.
No, because his explosion at Ross is wholly inappropriate and unfair. I mean, the one he needs to be exploding at is Greg. Now, I mean, when Greg realizes this, is he aware of this, Greg?
No. I mean, is he aware of the fact that what you just said, that, you know what I mean? It was just Ross needing to yell at somebody and can't yell at Greg? No, he doesn't see it that way at all.
Jean-Francois, not Ross. And that's, I'm sure what you mean, right? Jean-Francois needs to yell at Greg, not at Ross.
No, Greg doesn't see it that way. Greg sees it as, well, the Penningtons and French over there have always had a rough, they never got along. They've never gotten along.
But still, I mean, the issue that in this case was setting Jean-Francois off. I mean, he, you know, did you tell him about going to the garden or not?
Yes.
So, I mean, you know, that's the point now. He's transferring it because he doesn't want to blow up at his friend Greg.
Yeah.
But he does, but he sounds like he's willing to do that. I mean, he's not a pansy, you know.
No, he's not. But he does have, and he always has, and I always wondered if it was, you know, if it crossed the line. He always had an affection for Greg. Always. Greg, oh Greg, you know, he was always Greg's biggest fan. And, you know, and I said, you know, what a shame, Greg. I told him that. I said, you know, what a shame that you took advantage of that. Do you see that you've done that? You've taken advantage of that. You've asked me to live amongst your junk. And I guess I've acquiesced, even though I continue to fight it. I have never really done anything about it. I've made threats, but I never did anything about it. But now you've asked Jean-Francois to live amongst your junk, and he's pushing back and saying no, even though he cares for you greatly. But now you're asking him, you know, to live amongst your junk, and you don't see that as a problem for people, but other people have a big problem with that.
Yeah. Interesting.
You know,
what did he say to that?
I don't think he had much of a response, except, you know, I'll take care of it. Because most of this conversation, you know, that I had with Greg was one-sided. Whenever you try to talk to him about the horde, he breaks down, he puts up a wall, you know, he stares off into space until you're done.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, and then he said, he did say to me, well, you know, I've made a lot of commitments for this summer and I can't just walk away from them. And I said, well, you're not going to be able to put this off either. So, you know, just saying this problem at 1013 doesn't exist. Just because you say I'm not going to deal with the problem at 1013 doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It doesn't mean it won't fester. Doesn't mean it's not going to turn into something that's no longer within your control. You know, you're going to get to a point where someone's going to take it out of your hands, and that's going to be a really, really hard day for you. You know, when they say, listen, you've got until, you know, you've got 10 days to clean it up. Now, what are you going to do? Or we're going to fine you $10,000. Now, what are you going to do? Is that what you're waiting for? Because that's what it'll come to. You know, what you've done is really not legal. I'm sorry, it's not.
And that's when he'll break. That's when he'll crack, because he will be up against the law. You know, he's been able to finagle his way through. The only other problem with that is because of what he does for a living, he knows all the supervisors, the code enforcement. You know what I mean? Who knows what he's going to say? Hey, can you cut me a break here? But if anybody, I mean, Greg Matei is no secret of what he does.
Yeah. And now I don't know if this is true or not, but, you know, because of how pretty our little road is, it should be called Hillside Park, because people walk our road constantly. There's constant traffic. There's only 3 houses up here, but there's constantly people from College Hill walking by because it's pretty and there's wildflowers everywhere. And Jean-Francois claims that 9 out of 10 people that walk by ask him, who lives at our house and how do we get away with it?
It's probably true, no, in some way.
because the Penningtons, oh, there's my friends, the deer.
Mhm.
Penningtons have a beautiful English style garden outside of their house that they work on they're always out there working on that garden.
So they offset their mess in some way then, seems, yeah?
What's that?
They offset their little bit of mess.
Oh gosh, their house, there's really nothing wrong there.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
He's got an old car in the driveway that he works on, and Ross sells commercial lawn equipment for a living. So every now and then he's got like maybe a piece that you would put on the front of a commercial machine to till gardens or something. Like he's got these big massive like lawnmowers and stuff over there.
Oh.
So every now and then there's one of those parked there. So that, and I guess one of Jean-Francois' problems over there was a big pile of boulders. And Jean-Francois yelled at Ross about it, and Ross said, well, who do you think brought those boulders over here? Greg.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Where do we go from here?
Yeah.
I told Greg, I said, listen, he's going to stalk me now. Now Jean-Francois is waiting for me to walk outside, and he's waiting for me to drive down the road. You know what I mean? And he wants to know where we are, what's happening, when is Greg going to start? He's stalking me.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm the one who wants to call in a hauler tomorrow morning and just have it all taken away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be. Yeah. Yeah. There's so much attached to this. It's frightening.
Yeah. So with Greg, does he have any interest or realization or awareness that he needs some help with this? I mean, psychologically.
Somewhere in there, he knows it's out of his control. Yeah. Somewhere in there, he knows that it's gone so far. It's like, where do I start?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think, and my answer to that is, I think it starts at home. So let's start here, because I have a feeling what he's going to do is load up all this stuff and he's going to move it somewhere else until the bow breaks on that property. It's only a matter of time.
Yeah. Another neighbor is going to.
It's only a matter of time before Fulmer says.
Yeah, that's not, and somebody that's not his friend, like Jean-Francois.
Yeah.
They won't have any mercy on him. They're like, who's this guy? Who do you think you are? You're diminishing the value of my property.
That's right. And I said that to Greg too. I said it's not just unpleasant, but Tracy and Jean-Francois have divorced. Maybe they want to sell that house.
That's right.
Yeah. People are very sensitive when it comes to property values, because now you're taking money out of their pocket. If they can't sell because there's a mess in the neighborhood, I mean, this is a big deal for people. It's a source of a lot of contention and troubles, so.
And when I talked to Jean-Francois, I said, listen, in the past, he's manipulated you. Oh, no, he did not. I said, really? I said, the artist studio he built in your backyard, how much did you pay for that? He built Jean-Francois an artist studio in his backyard to match his house. It's all custom designed. It's beautiful. I said, how much did you pay him for that? He goes, oh, I just pay the materials. I said, sweetie, that was hush money. That's hush money. That was just to keep you quiet.
Yeah.
And he comes over here now and says, we always talked about putting an addition onto the back and making you a wine cellar. He's going to come over and offer to put an addition on your house for you in order to keep you quiet.
Yeah.
You better be prepared for that, and be prepared to say no.
Yeah.
That's what he does.
Yeah.
That's what he does. That's what he did for Ross. You know, Ross had some problems with some things, trees laying, that a tree broke and is laying into Ross's property. He wanted Greg to take care of it. Greg poured him some steps. Haven't heard anything about the tree.
Ah, interesting. Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah.
I know.
Ah,
You
see
know,
now,
he's
yeah.
making my beautiful world ugly.
Mhm.
yeah. Well, I mean, there's another angle on this that, I mean, he certainly got something seriously going on inside there. I mean, this is not a simple thing. So this is kind of a big deal. Um, Cheryl, I don't know how amenable he would be to it, but I certainly would be willing to do sessions with Greg, but he'd have to commit. He'd have to commit to it, and I don't mean in a course environment. Just
Just for his
talking,
boarding.
listening, sharing, just letting him, giving him space and opportunity to deal with us, right? To work on it slowly, carefully, delicately. But he'd have to commit to it, and like basically commit to 3 months, because this is not a quick, simple thing. This is something that's slow. It goes deep, this is connected to
Oh,
father and
it's
all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
it's
So
extremely deep.
yeah.
I don't
So,
know. I don't know how I would get him to commit to
Right.
something. You know what I mean? I don't know how I'd get him to
Okay.
commit to it
So
because
this would not be something that you can get him to do, and I would not recommend that. However, his brothers, Sue, Justin, there's where the pressure
Did
needs
you
to
tell
come.
Justin this story?
no,
Yeah.
I think he needs
no.
to be on board, because you know what's going to happen.
Absolutely. This has to come
Greg
from
is going
outside.
to call him for boo hoo hoo and cry on his shoulder, just like he used to do with Jean-Francois.
Yeah, but you know what, Justin, if there's one thing he's missing in his life, in his psyche, and I've shared this with you before, he's the least empathetic guy I've ever met.
Justin
You know-
is?
Oh, yes.
He's very logical. He's pragmatic.
Yes.
All right.
And the one time I said to him, oh my God, I've got the flu so bad. I've had diarrhea for 2 days. I'm like, I can't believe there's anything left inside of me. And you know what he said?
Wow.
Well, that's a great place to start a diet.
Wow. Well, still though, that
I'm his
logic may come
mom.
in
I've been
handy
sick
here.
in bed for 2 days. And he says, oh, well, great time to start a diet. You're all cleaned
that
out.
logic, yeah, but that logic here might come in handy though,
Yeah,
because he'll see the logic of Greg's in trouble here.
Yeah,
This
well,
thing starts.
that's the way he's hardwired. That's Justin's
Yeah. But I'm
hardwiring.
saying the logic here is Greg's in trouble. Greg needs to deal with this psychologically. So
Yeah.
I'm saying I'm willing to do this. It's not something that I'm particularly keen on, but I am willing to do it.
Yeah.
But Greg will have to commit, and he'll have to, put something into it up front, 3 months worth, so that's not
Yeah.
just,
So he, that's his again.
Yeah.
He's going to have to be at the very end, because for Greg to put out money, and if it's not with Sil, it's going to have to be with another psychologist. He needs help. He
Exactly.
needs professional help. That's how far this has gone.
Yeah.
There is no, let's clean it up and then walk away, and this is over with. It's like bariatric surgery. It's very, very similar.
Yeah.
If people don't identify the true problem behind it, taking part of your ileum out in your small intestine to correct something, that would be like him taking all that stuff and putting it somewhere else so he can't see it, is never going to correct what's going on inside of him.
What makes him, what makes this okay.
Exactly. I mean,
And it's
this is
probably about,
big
the
issue.
psyche between, he always had this collector's thing, but we all know and saw with Poppy how it escalated so severely. So maybe he doesn't understand his relationship with his own father.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hey, hold on, Susie, hold that thought.
Yeah.
Get going. He was little by little inching his way over to my little tiny flower garden.
Who was doing that?
The deer.
Ah,
Deer. He was like looking at me and looking at the flowers and looking at me and looking at the flowers going, should I do it? And he started doing it. So I had to chase him away. But go ahead. I'm sorry, Sue.
You know, understanding his, maybe the real big base of this could be about Poppy, because
it is
the time that it escalated. But what I don't even know, maybe you know better, what was the relationship, the real relationship between Greg and my dad? Because the reason I ask is, yes, all the boys always had that connection with him, you know, because they could work with their hands and they followed the same trade as dad did, and so forth. But what was that like? I mean, we all know how gruff Poppy was,
right.
To us, to Mimi. I always wondered, was he like that with the boys?
Well,
Jesus
this is
Christ,
this is what I sort of saw. This is just what I sort of saw from the cheap seats, okay? Because I was never really in it. All right.
Me neither.
Okay. But what I saw was Greg playing catch up and being in Jeff's shadow.
Yeah.
Jeff was your father's favorite, I think. Now, that's why Greg kind of held it like a badge of honor. I'm Mimi's favorite. But what he really wanted to be was Poppy's favorite.
Poppy's favorite. Yeah.
And Jeff always sort of, Jeff liked to hunt. You know, Greg shot a deer once and your father gutted it in front of him. And, you know, your brother threw up.
Mm-hmm.
He actually vomited. And Poppy was like, what's the matter with you? Get over here. This is what you do. Da, 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 da. You killed the deer. You got the deer. You know.
Yeah.
And Greg never went hunting again after that.
Yeah.
So I think he was always, you know, whereas Jeff, you know, Jeff could kill the deer and chunk his head off in one fell swoop and, you know, carry it home in his backpack, you know.
Yeah.
That's he was a real man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Greg's always been kind of in, I think as far as Poppy goes, you know, he was wanting,
always seeking that attention or that appreciation for him when he really couldn't get it because of Jeff's demeanor and, you know, sense of overpowering and stuff. Then he sucked up anything that Mimi could give him, but Mimi's was a very negative reinforcement, you know, of that. I mean, the way that she goes about it is really inappropriate, you know. Yeah, she doesn't realize, obviously, what she's doing. Greg doesn't realize what's going on either. And I think that's what he has to understand is the dynamics of why he's holding on to this stuff. And remember when Poppy died, how he, you know, Poppy had no left brain function. That's all cognitive. That's all thinking. That's all. And it was gone. It was gone. He was brain dead on that side. Greg kept saying, oh, no. He just needs antibiotics. He just needs
antibiotics. Yeah. He looked at me. He winked at me. He heard what I was saying and squeezed my hand. And Greg was looking for anything. Yeah.
Anything. Again, he didn't get what he wanted before Poppy died. So now he's going to hold on even stronger to all these things. And even you, he hoards you, you know, in a weird way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he gets very upset if I go to the store and I'm not back in 20 minutes. He's like, well, where'd you go? What'd you do? Well, I don't know. There was another store open next door and I went to that store and I was just looking around. Well, how long does it take to get a gallon of milk? Like I mean, it's not like he's accusing me of doing anything bad. It just makes him very nervous when the Porsche isn't in the garage.
Yeah.
He needs the Porsche in the garage. You don't want to drive it. You don't want to play with it. You don't want to clean it. You don't want to touch it. He wants to know the Porsche is in the garage. And it's very bizarre. You know,
it makes sense psychologically. You know, it's complex, but that's what I'm saying. I'll be more than happy to talk with him about it. You know, my concern is if he does go to a psychologist, this is a black hole that he's going to get sucked into, and it's just going to get worse, not better.
Correct.
You know, if you focus on the negative and the problems here, it has to come with some sort of replacement. Otherwise, forget about it, you know. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and truly, I'm not the best proponent for, traditional psychotherapy because I've had
no,
it.
I agree.
I've
It's
had it.
terrible.
And
Yeah.
it's,
No, it's kind
you
of
know,
productive. Sorry, it's
Yeah.
kind of productive.
the last psychotherapist I went to, no, I shouldn't say the last one, before the last, Terry Brennan. I had him so manipulated that when I went in there, we would talk about his problems.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, he went to talk to me about his
I
problems.
agree.
We
There's
never
a
talked
great,
about me anymore. We talked about him all the time.
yeah,
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah,
So
yeah. It's not not a happy situation, you know. I mean, yes, there are people who do make an effort and they have integrity and all that, but still, the basic premise of trying to fix problems is flawed. You just
yeah,
exacerbate the
yeah.
issue, you know.
And let's
So
face it, I mean, for the longest time, I was very protective of my problems. People are, they tend to be very
yeah.
protective
Oh,
of them.
absolutely.
And
Oh, look at
Greg
Greg.
is very protective of his problem. I
Oh,
was
yeah,
very protective of mine. I don't want to talk to you about,
yeah.
my alcohol use or, or anything else, because don't touch that,
And
It's
Greg's the
mine.
same
It's
way.
me.
Greg is the exact same way. It's that reinforcing loop there that occurs. Wow.
Yeah, it's that strange love affair, that strange love-hate relationship you build with problems like that,
Yeah, yeah. No, it makes sense. That's why they have them in the first place, because they provide some sort of support and basis, and there's some value in it. There's some payoff to it. So absolutely, you know.
Yeah. Well, and you
That's
know
the
what else
point.
drives me
There's no
crazy?
replacement.
The fact that your brother's still driving that truck.
Yeah. Poppy's truck, Poppy's old truck.
Yeah. Yeah, he will not let go of that. And he's got it packed solid. He couldn't take a passenger if he tried. So every time he leaves in that truck, I'm pretty sure he's not cheating on me, because he can't get anybody in there. You can't even put somebody in the passenger seat. Not
Wow.
that any woman would ever get in that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if she wanted to, there'd be nowhere to sit.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting.
Ah,
Interesting.
God.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm just, you know, on this, share it all with Justin, and also I don't know how much you're connected to his brothers, but you know, some external pressure needs to happen, because if this thing comes where you do get, you know, city council or whatever fines, you know, stuff, you got to do this. This is going to put a sudden pressure on him, and this is something he may crack, you know, and then the whole thing falls apart and he implodes, and that's not a good idea either. So, you know, there's a logic here, and Greg will understand the logic. I mean, Justin will understand the logic that he needs to deal with somebody, you know, never mind empathy. There's a logic here. There's pressure, problems are coming. We're looking ahead, and so we're trying to get ahead of this thing, not deal with it once it comes, you know, not once it's there, to get him, because the only way for this really to get resolved is not him being forced to clear the stuff, because he says he's going to go and dump it elsewhere, but for him to start dealing with it, you know, so, right?
Yeah.
But you can't do it. I mean, every time you say to him, you need, just those two words, you need, puts all of his walls up, you know, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know,
I
that's
guess you know,
you're too close
as many
to it.
changes as I make within myself, I haven't, I guess I
It'll
haven't
come.
applied enough of them
It's
to
all right,
Greg.
but don't just patience. It will come.
I
But
don't,
in
you know,
situations like this,
if I
yeah,
can't help it, I certainly don't want to make it worse.
correct,
You know,
correct. So that's why you have to kind of just stay out of it as much as you possibly can. Of course, you are going to be involved because you are involved, but as much as you possibly can. You know,
yeah.
see if you
Like
can't use the
Jean-Francois kept
outside.
saying to me, hey, that house is half yours. It's
Yeah,
half yours. Why don't you get to say what happens?
you
It's half
do,
your
you do,
house.
you do.
And I
You do.
said, you don't understand.
Yeah,
Sometimes, well, for a very long time, I should say, for a very long time, that was a battle that just had
yeah,
so many implications that it
yeah.
was better to just walk away from that battle.
Yeah, yeah. But mention me to Jean-Francois. Mention me as an option to Justin, to his brothers, to whoever has influence on him, right? Because at least to Greg, I'm a known quantity. So I'm like kind of in the family, as it were, already. You know, he's at least aware of me, and we did have that one interaction that time, and you know, we had a good connection. At least, you know, it was a non-stressful, non-threatening connection. So I feel that he would at least be open to this, because he has to do something, you know. So especially if he starts getting pressure from people like Jean-Francois and Justin and his brothers and whoever has any influence on him, this would be, you know, he has to at some point acknowledge that he has to at least make a token of doing something. Whether it's actually going to solve the problem or not, in his mind, doesn't matter. But at least he has to give the appearance. But that's the door in. You know, if we start talking about this, and he'll have to commit to put time into this, you know. So that's just that alone, you know, once you start putting a time and a commitment, now the ball starts rolling, and little by little, this is an incremental thing that's going to require patience, you know. So you know, that I have. So, but still, once it gets started, in his mind, he thinks, well, he's just putting it off and he's making everybody happy. But it don't matter, you know, once you're in, the thing starts, and then you start to unravel this, you know, because this is a big, it's like when you, all of your hair, you've got lots of hair like me, right? So, you know, when you've gotten the whole thing into a complete and utter mess, right? And it's like all nothing, you know what it takes to untangle that. Yeah, well, this is the same thing. Right? It's lots of patience, one hair at a time. You know, you can't go cutting it all off, right? It don't work. So this is what's needed with Greg. So, you know, like I said, I am willing to do it. It's not something I particularly enjoy or look forward to. You know, wave impeccability therapy is what I call it, but that's really what it boils down to. You know, just listening. You know, and letting him come, and not doing it in the usual way of, you know, problem solving and fixing stuff and all this. No, it's awareness. That's what I'll do, is that, you know, through chatting and talking, you know, it's just about him developing an awareness of what's going on. So, you know, that's my skill, but still, at least we'll give him an understanding for himself of what's going on, you know. So
Well,
anyway,
I mean, is it possible to, as a start, just set something up that you could talk to him privately, even if it's just for 30 minutes?
Oh, this absolutely.
Without me, without any input from me whatsoever, or Sue.
Absolutely.
Just the two of you on a Zoom. I'll leave the house and you guys can talk.
Yeah, so that will be my requirement. To talk to him, you would have to find some space or place, like from his office or wherever, where he can do this, where it's out of earshot of him.
Yeah, no, I'll leave. Yeah, he can have my office.
I mean, that would be my requirement, right? And I mean that.
But I mean,
it's not personally critical to me.
I would not.
Yeah.
I would not try to, let's say, sell him on a program prior to that.
No.
Yeah, and this
I
is
would
not
let
him
you
doing the
put the
program.
bug in his ear. You plant the seed.
Yeah. It has to come from outside of you. If it's coming
it
from you,
must.
he's going to resist it. Exactly.
Yes.
That's why I'm saying mention the whole story. Like you chat to Justin, I'm assuming you tell him what's going on in your life. So it would be unusual if you didn't tell him about Jean-Francois and the whole Ross thing and the whole story. So just share it with him, and you know, so you put that bug in his ear that something needs to be done. You know, problem is coming, trouble is coming. Yeah. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird. I mean, with Justin, I haven't decided whether he knows his father's problem. He comes home, he sees it. But I kind of made myself a promise not to burden Justin with Greg and Cheryl issues. I don't, because if I did, the poor kid would be, you know, in circles and in the same dark place as we are. And I don't want him to come to our dark place. He's got a beautiful life out there, and I want him to enjoy it. And I don't want him to worry. He's a very sensitive boy, even though he's not empathetic. He's extremely sensitive, and he's a holder-inner, like his father.
But don't you think it would be, there's a difference between getting him involved and keeping him in the loop. just to
Okay.
know that this is where we're at. This is a pivotal point here. Jean-Francois, has a bug up his ass for all the right reasons for not only your house, but the Pennington's house. And if something doesn't get done, there's going to be big consequences here with legal stuff.
This is obviously something that's come to a head and a boiling point
Yep,
for
it has.
Jean-Francois.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Yeah.
fact that he went off on Ross when really he needs to go off on Greg.
And I think he knows, like when he said, I'm slightly embarrassed.
Yeah.
Because he knows that he probably doesn't have the language that we use, but he knows that his behavior was not appropriate.
It was unfair to Ross. I mean, absolutely. It's totally, anybody comes saying, but sure, but why are you going off on Ross, any of the other neighbors, when you should be going off on Greg?
But I wonder, Jean-Francois isn't stupid. I wonder if he set that up purposefully for you to hear him and then come out knowing that more than likely at some point, because that is your personality to confront this or address this situation. And that was his way of getting there. That's how he caught your attention. And that's how the door opened for him.
Well, it is peculiar that Jean-Francois is speaking to me in a manner that he hasn't in 15 years.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the same guy who would walk by me on the road. Remember when I didn't have a driver's license at one point, and I was walking to work and walking to the bus to go to Giant quite a few years ago, but he would drive by me on the way to Giant. I'm in full Giant uniform, and he would drive by me and not wave, not acknowledge me. And then 10 minutes later, I'd see him in Giant when I got there on the bus. Like, he's my neighbor. Like, why would you say, Cheryl, I'm going over to the store, you want to ride? Like, you wouldn't wait, you know what I mean? That's like so.
All right. Now there's something that's important story here, or at least a part of this. This right now, we've got to consider the entirety of the picture and say what's changed. What has massively changed is Cheryl. You are massively different. And your world is going to change in ways that don't necessarily make sense. Like this with Jean-Francois. People recognize as they understand it, whether it be conscious or subconscious, doesn't matter. They understand it. So you are different. You are going to get people reacting different to you. Don't expect the same. It makes total sense that he drove past you before. He may even have thought that's what you would have preferred. It may be, in his mind, it may have been something thinking, well, she doesn't want me to pick up. She's like ashamed of working at Giant and just be embarrassed if I pick up, or some nonsense like that. Or maybe he thought it was valid. Who knows? Maybe it was. I don't know. You see what I'm saying? He may have been reacting to you. He's obviously not a blind fellow. He's got some sophistication to him. So I'm saying he's reacting to you because he sees the change in the difference. Forget him reacting and just the usualness. There's also the universe and intent and just the magic of it. We see this daily, ask Sue. When with all the different participants, when they start to focus and change, stuff happens in their world. That externalness happens in the world, the magic. You've seen it yourself. So this is a gift from the universe. It's starting to because this is an intent for you to resolve this stuff with the hoarding and all of this stuff. Yeah. So now you are getting an opportunity and a gift to start to work on it. And that's how it works. It comes around you. Now you just have to attune and align with it. And since this is coming externally, this is the logic here. It is the external pressure that's the issue. So, absolutely make a point to ask Jean-Francois to invite Greg to the garden and then ask him to turn around. This is most important. That singular thing is absolutely critical. It's a big thing. It's a big pressure. And then to mention to Jean-Francois too, that, hey, you know somebody who can help Greg, but to get Greg there, you can't do it directly. You're going to need some help, so he'll understand. He'll absolutely understand because he understands the indirectness. He did it via us. He'll get it, So same thing with Justin or with the brothers or whoever you can ask to influence on this. Who knows? Maybe Jean-Francois is the one to do it. you know.
Just so Justin isn't influenced by his poor Greggy thing, like, because there could be a moment as empathetic as you think he is, or lack of empathy, I should say. There might be a little twist there that says, "Oh my
Well, yeah,
God,
because Justin desires to look up to Greg.
correct."
He doesn't realize that he actually desires that, but I see it. He has to believe whether it's valid or not, that his father is this thing to admire and look up to, and you know what I mean. And I've often said to Justin, you know what I don't get, and I gotta tell you, why are you always feeding me a reality sandwich? You gloss right over Dad. Because listen, my son has always called me out on my bullshit. 100%. I mean,
But he
we've
doesn't
had
do it
some
with
arguments,
Greg.
but with Greg, never.
Well, it's not surprising actually, because I think both Greg and Jean-Francois intuit that this is a deep problem with Greg, and it's pretty sensitive. So to call him out on it, it's on stuff like that, you are kind of just aggravating the problem. You're just making the person even more defensive, and they're just going to retreat and go away. And you may just, be the one who pulls the domino that collapses the whole, the card at the bottom of the house of cards. So I think people are a little bit, and rightfully so, are very cautious to go in there and push the buttons, because it's very obvious this is a very deep psychological issue with Greg.
Yeah.
So they just cautious, they're scared to go there.
Yeah.
It's problematic. It's
Well,
difficult.
I think, Justin's response to that question was, because somebody has to. Like, somebody has to stand up to you, Mom.
Oh.
That was his response to that. But I think he needs to come to a place where not only does somebody have to stand up to me, but somebody has to reach your father. Somebody has to reach him. There is a sane, reasonable man in there somewhere behind all that garbage.
Oh, absolutely. And then
somebody has to reach him.
Yeah. I mean, would it be of any advantage to, that I said something to Justin instead of it coming from his mom? Just for the fact of, this is where we're at. We're not asking you to do anything or talk to your father. Just be in the loop that if he, that this is a problem and this needs to address, support that part.
But, and while I appreciate that offer, I feel like part of my growth is I need to handle this.
Oh, there you go.
You know what I'm saying? As part of Cheryl growing, learning, believing in herself.
Exactly.
Cheryl I need to do this. I just, you know what I mean? I want to be, I may only get one chance, and I want to be, I want to have some clarity and know where I'm going.
Yeah. I mean, from a sobriety, maturity point of view, how do you not bring Justin into this? Okay, you can do it delicately and casually and carefully, and say, but look, here's a problem, and your dad's got this problem, and we need to deal with it. And I understand me pressing Greg directly is not an effective way of dealing with this. So I'm needing help here. And that's it. You're asking him to assist you in dealing with something that everybody knows is an issue. You can't tiptoe around it anymore. And now it needs help. And that's it. Say, I'm reaching out to whoever I can to help me with this. Greg needs help. And
well, because you're right. I mean, how can you not include Justin? That the wheels have started to turn, and this train is heading down the track.
Exactly. I mean, you're heading for disaster. Right.
It's not going to go away this time.
Exactly. And you are anticipating and you're seeing trouble coming, and you want to get out of the way of trouble before it hits. And because if this does hit for Greg, and he's got to deal with this, He's just transferring the problem from one place to another, and this is going to, it's bringing things to a head. It's not really going to solve the problem, except potentially, that crack that's there, split it open, and the thing is threatening to collapse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well,
it's important. It's important to, to deal with it with Justin. He
yeah.
needs to deal with it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Ultimately, it affects him too.
Yeah.
Well, sure.
No, yeah, no. You're right, Cheryl. Yes, it is. You need that, but sometimes you allude that you need to step away. You can't get any further involved. That's why I just asked. But
Oh,
no,
absolutely. Absolutely. And when it comes to your brother, yes, I definitely want your support. And and your at least provide him with some tools to
Sure.
be able to handle this. You know what I mean? Help him, work through this. You know what I mean? That I think that's your greatest gift to him, would be to, kind of and talk to him about Sil. And
Sure.
It's most admirable, Cheryl. Most admirable.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. Sobriety, integrity, impeccability, it's very key. But also, be aware that you are so close to Greg that you pressing on him is just pushing him away. It's too close.
Exactly.
And you know this already. You've done this all these years, and he's already built up that resistance.
That's
so
right.
you've got to now go outside the circle.
Yes,
And that's it.
right.
It's the only way here. It's the only way. And that's what I admire, that you recognize that and you are aware of it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's almost like I can almost hear him go, okay, here she goes again. Click the off switch. Click the off switch.
Exactly.
Let her say what she wants to say, and then we'll find out whether or not she feels like going out for a burger.
Yeah. But yes and no. But as much as you think that he's putting that click switch off, there have been many times when you haven't been around when he says, well, Cheryl said this, Cheryl said that, Cheryl knows that, and he hears what you're saying. He may not like what you say.
Yes, it's not the message, it's the delivery.
It's the truth.
That's the issue. So we'll get to this, especially, we'll do at some point, we'll do the capital D diplomacy module and the hearing and helping. And you'll see there are ways, but still, it's there's a lot between that stage and now, and this needs to be dealt with now. So, but yeah, so it's not your messages, Cheryl, it's just the delivery. That's all.
Yeah. And he, what you'll,
or was,
this is once again, Cheryl, look at the universe working for you here.
Exactly.
For once now, there is not the resistance from you to not let this open itself up. All this stuff with your gardening, growing your life, and now this clean, you're not only digging out that garden and starting new, the whole place is going to get fucking dug up. Again, a huge, massive change in your life.
I mean, I could almost just looking back, I mean, my house hasn't been in the right condition since Justin graduated from high school, and we had that graduation party.
Yeah. And that was an all out 2 weeks before I was there every day. 2 weeks before graduation. He's the typical procrastinator where you wait till that deadline till you're at the 11th hour, and then boom, he brings all of us reinforcements in who just just keep on going regardless. And we plowed and mowed and moved rocks and built fireplaces, and it was gorgeous when it was all done.
We had a pack of Mexicans in my backyard for 2 weeks. Right? Remember the Mexicans?
Yeah.
All he did was buy him a pizza every day and a pack of cigarettes. It was crazy.
Wow.
But it shouldn't have to be that way, And I'm going to tell you, who's the same, Cheryl? Is David. David, the same thing is happening to him.
Oh dear. David's the third brother now, right? There's Jeff and
The
David.
youngest. Yeah, there's 3
Yeah.
boys, 2 girls.
He's starting to do the
He's-
same, the hoarding.
He's hoarding, you know, the whole V7. He wants this. And Jody is like, get that fucking thing out of here. We don't need that. I mean, she's almost
What the
weird.
whole V7? What's the whole V7?
Oh,
I'm out of the
V7
loop.
Wait, V7 is torn down,
Right.
right?
Yes.
Well, all the shit that was in there
Yeah.
was up for grabs. God only, I do not know. God's honest truth. I do not know what Gregory took out of there, but there were stoves. I mean, David has one of those milkshake machine things on
Oh,
his.
for God's sakes. What have I got?
I have no idea. I have no idea, but I know Greg and him were moving it, but I don't know if it was
Of
all
course.
moving into Greg's,
Well,
David's
it's a
garage.
little hard for Greg to hide a milkshake machine at 1013. So I'm sure this shit's all out at the farm. Probably
Yeah.
all out on Richmond Road.
So we're like, Jesus. So he's that, and he's really weird with food, like Poppy was. He's not throwing anything out, you know.
Oh, David is.
Oh, and there's battles over there, absolute battle. She keeps saying to me, please, Sue, help me. I need an intervention. I need an intervention here.
No way.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Go ahead, Jill.
Sorry, Jeff displays none of this.
No.
What about
Jeff,
the fifth sibling? You've got you 5 kids, right?
My sister, she's just controlling, I would say.
wait, I'll be right back. I'm going to grab a cup of coffee. I'll be right back.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
She
Barbie-
doesn't display any of this either.
No. The holding on to food.
Yeah.
Yes, because her boyfriend that has been living with her for, I don't know, 12, 15 years, whatever. He constantly wants to go through the refrigerator. He goes, this is outdated, Barb. Why are we keeping this? This is out, and, my father was, scrape the mold off the cheese. And there was a block of cheese this big.
Interesting.
He cuts it all off. Still, I'm not fucking joking you.
Yeah.
He got it down. This is how much
Yeah.
cheese was of value in this big block. of cheese.
Yeah. But he saved it. But he saved it.
But he
Yeah.
saved it. The ring bologna. My nephews tell this story. Hot dog bologna, that like pinkish colored one. Well, they were always at my mom and dad's. They would Justin and Danny. They would babysit for them all the time, and Jessica, my parents. So Poppy says, because he was always the cook, he says, hey kids, you want a sandwich? You like Justin and Danny? Yeah. Well, Danny saw him take the bologna out of the refrigerator, and you know how lunch meat gets slimy?
Yeah.
It was all slimy. He ran it underwater and shook it out and then put it on. And it's not that there's not money to buy fresh bologna. Let's make that perfectly clear.
Yeah.
And Danny goes, Poppy, he goes, I don't think I'm hungry. I think I can wait.
Good for him. Yeah.
Up at the hunting cabin, he looked at the oatmeal container. The oatmeal was older than Dan, and he was in his 20s. He goes, no, Poppy. He goes, this oatmeal's older than me. I'm not eating it.
Wow.
But they don't throw anything out. They are. My father, for his eulogy, I remember saying that my father was a what do you call it? Recycler before that term became popular. I mean, he recycled everything. He saved.
How do you feel any of this is in your life?
Oh no, I am not a saver. No, I like to buy things, but I also I'm a giveawayer.
Yeah.
Interesting. I have that almost the opposite, almost over generous.
That's what I mean. Did you see it and resist it and actively say, no, I don't want that?
No, I just didn't like clutter. Like you've seen my house, but I have a lot of stuff around, but it fits and it has a purpose. I don't bring anything else in that doesn't fit. If I do, something has to come out.
Yeah. Well, I remember because she said with the certificates, she said, I don't have a place to put it. To hang them.
I don't.
Yeah. And you didn't make it. You didn't like,
space.
Right. I'm saying that's indicative because, all of the rest, they would certainly have found this, move stuff and put it up or whatever. You said no, even though it was important to you, you didn't want to make the space because it wasn't appropriate. And that's very admirable.
Yeah.
that you adopted it sensibly. I'm
Yeah.
just intrigued that it's in all
Well,
of the other siblings, this is influential.
Yeah.
I can tell you, I can hear you guys from the kitchen. So Susie,
Yeah.
you are exactly the polar opposite.
Yeah.
The things that Susie she'll show up at your house with a bag full of probably $1,000 worth of stuff that she says, "Oh, I don't know. I don't want it."
Wow.
What do you mean you don't want it? You didn't even open it.
Wow.
No, I bought it. I didn't want it. Here, have it.
Yeah.
It's like the queen of the
Wow.
purge.
Yeah. Yeah. When I need space
Oh,
for
did
something,
you hear
I
that?
take
Did you hear that?
something
Did you
else
hear
out.
that? What Cheryl just said? Sorry, Sue, to interrupt.
That's right.
It's very interesting. The
Queen
queen
of
of the purge.
Purge.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I should have dropped a little bit on them. I stood in line longer for that purging. And funny, purging, I was the bulimic in the family.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
Yeah,
why
you started
it,
young with the purging. Yes.
that's why it zinged in my ears,
Yeah.
because now it gives an insight a little bit into, what started that also, this now it's all connected, right? But you dealt with it, you overcame it, you triumphed over it, you integrated. It's fantastic. So I just want to use this opportunity, to appreciate yourself. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
Because you're still purging. You're just not purging to the detriment of yourself.
Now it's
Any
appropriate.
longer.
It's appropriateness. You've balanced it to use this appropriately. Yes, and you purge all the stuff that you don't want, unnecessary. But still, that does, and you also do hold on to what is of value.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're managing this stuff appropriately. It's
It's
fantastic.
that concept we have even through way of impeccability. That is,
Exactly.
there's only so much room. And this is what Greg doesn't get. If he can see that, your body, your world, there's only so much room. So if you try to put something else in, something that's already full, boop, something has to come out.
Yep,
Something
yep.
has to come out.
That's right.
Uh, if you want more joy,
That's an interesting concept for Greg to. I don't think Greg has a clue about that concept.
He doesn't.
And that's interesting for him to actually grasp that there's only so much room, because he tends to not give that its respect.
Yeah.
He always thinks there's more. I'll just move it somewhere else. I can make space. I can make space for it somewhere.
But you see all the correlations. Like for me, if my closet gets too tight, I don't panic, but I go, what are you doing, Susan? How much of this are you really using? That's when I start to go through it and say, okay, I don't need this anymore. Does this have value? Does this have emotional connection or whatever? And I give it away. I consign it or whatever I need to do. So again, now when there's space in there, if I want to add a couple things in there, I can, but I'm very cautious of overstuffing anything. Even my medicine cabinets, like when I give you all those cosmetic things, like, you know what? I think I want to try this. It looks like a better thing for my skin or whatever. But I go to put it in my closet and I'm like, Jesus Christ, Susan, where are you going to fucking fit it? That's when I take out, and I usually have a bag set aside for you, and I just bring it down. I don't care if it's shampoo.
Personally, I don't want that part of you to change. Personally, I think that's a really good thing. If you got a Cheryl bag sitting there, because I benefit immensely.
Yeah, but you see that shift in that concept there. Well, if I bring something in, I need to take something out.
Yes, seriously.
All of my shoes.
That is a key concept that may help Greg turn the page. If he gets that.
Yeah.
And and he makes that part of his belief system, that I've only got so much room. If I want something more, I've got to get rid of something that I already have that I'm not using. Type of thing.
The thing is, it's not so much just about the physical stuff. What has to come before that is the psychological balance, because this is and that's why I'm saying, that's a slow process that has to come slowly and delicately. He has to come to that awareness. Nobody can tell it to him.
Yeah.
If you couldn't tell him, and you're the most influential person in his life, Forget about anybody outside of that. Not going to happen. So
Right.
he needs to get to this on his own, and that
On his
takes
own.
time. It takes listening. It takes absolute capital H hearing. It takes exquisite patience, and he has to have the intent to get to this at himself. So that's the start of it, and it'll be a slow thing. But anyway, so we
And
can definitely get there. Yeah.
Yeah. And for the three of us, it's never about telling him that this is what he has to do. It's about sharing things that may have worked for me or Sil or you so that he has a choice. That's the ultimate. One thing you know about Greg is don't pin him against the wall.
Yeah.
He comes out fighting. If you
Exactly. That's
tell
why.
Oh
him
no,
he
he
has
no,
to
he
do
just
so.
completely shuts down.
Yeah.
He shuts. He
Either way, right.
completely. You can
Exactly.
almost physically see it happening.
Yeah.
He just shuts down. He is now no longer hearing anything you say. You might as well just move on because he's totally, he's not hearing you. He's not accepting anything.
Exactly. Right. So that's why I'm saying this is something that requires extreme patience and delicacy, just listening to him, really. You can't really say anything until such time as there is an emotion and a depth and a connectivity. And that will take a long time, That's what I'm saying. For me, he has to commit to 3 months at least.
Yeah. And Greg has to pay for that.
Up front, absolutely.
Yeah.
Up
He got to
front, because
dig in them deep
money is a big
pockets.
issue to him. So he pays up front for 3 months. Yes, this is a sizable investment, and it's meant to be, because that he won't want to waste that money, because waste is such a big deal to him. So this will then, put pressure on him to actually do something about it and make it pay for itself. And that's important. That's the leverage, you see. So it's a roundabout way of going about it, but it's very important psychologically. Very important.
And the more he sees your changes, and your positivity, and all those shifts, the more he's going to go, whoa, like he's going to be missing a ride soon on the journey.
He doesn't want to be left behind, and he knows it, so.
No, he needs, he's that, you've always been that cheerleader, for him. And I remember at one point you said, I'm done. I am not, I can't be your cheerleader. Because then it turns into, you're going to be his mom.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And then his mom is a big part of this problem.
Mimi
She's
is
a huge part of it. I mean, the dad also, but the two of them together, boy, I mean, this is not, the one reinforcing the other and aggravating the other. It's dreadful, I mean, it's just
very,
like
very destructive in her.
condition. Oh yeah.
She's been very, very destructive in all of us when you look back at the psychology of it. Once again, because she never chose to take the time to work on herself. So again, all of her conditioning and stuff and the things she didn't understand, she just reinforced them or transferred them, however we want to say it, onto us in many, many different ways. And that's why her and I butt all the time, because I see the truth. I see the reality of it. And she just doesn't want to face the awful truth. And neither does Greg. Neither does Greg. Not yet, anyway. So hopefully that's something.
And that's the key of the issue here. Facing and dealing with the awful truth. That's the whole ball game right there. That's what it's all about. Sue, while I'm on it, just real quick. In terms of you and the siblings, the perception of your father, in terms of like, how did they view him, see him like, okay, did they sort of admire, they might not have liked him, but, was there that element in him?
He was, I think, respected by them through fear,
Yeah.
He was, he never was big on compliments. It was always, you could have done better than that, or he'll always find something you missed, or not saying, hey, great job, guys, and, next time you might want to think about, Jesus Christ, Greg, didn't you remember to do this? I mean, for me, didn't you remember to do this with this when you were sanding the floor, Susan? Oh, for God's, I wasn't asking him for help. It was already done, but he couldn't say, geez, Sue, you accomplished that all yourself. That's fabulous. That's fabulous. Figured it out.
So that you answered my question, because you shifted it to say they had this perception, which by implication means you didn't particularly share it. All right. And so you had some measure of understanding that he was inappropriate and that he was not cool. He was not nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I didn't fit in.
Yes.
I wasn't the
Yes.
boy that was holding the hammer. I've done things to think that I needed to prove myself by stripping and varnishing my own floors, by
Yeah.
fixing my own plumbing and things like that. You know, and my sister got more of that masculine thing because she needed, as the youngest girl, needed to fit in with Poppy. So she used to go dressed up more like a boy. She'd wear a baseball cap all the time. And whenever she'd go to the food store with my father, the checkers would always say, "Okay, Sonny, you want to help pack, load these bags?" Like she was always looked at as a boy.
And she liked
But
that.
she has a very tomboyish. She's not. I don't think she has a whole lot of feminine qualities. Do you think? Sure. I mean, I wouldn't.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, but you definitely didn't, buy into that, which is
No.
very powerful.
No.
And you
I-
see the value of it.
Yeah.
I
I wanted it, but I didn't know how to do that. And again, unfortunately, I grabbed on to a boyfriend, many, many years ago, who, was as detrimental probably as my own father, because he was probably more like my dad.
Yeah. And even though like I sort of discount what's in our so-called nature to do things, because I think you choose your nature, but in some cases, like in you, I mean, and in me, it's our nature to just kind of think more and ask why, and ask what's going on, and why do I feel this way, or why is they acting this way, and we just have this like need for understanding that not everybody needs.
Correct.
Yep,
Correct.
Absolutely, Cheryl.
Tell me why.
Absolutely.
Tell me why.
Insightful.
Yeah. Don't just tell me. Where the boys followed instruction.
That's right. That's right. They just had a manual to follow, whereas you and I had like big pieces of the page in our brain.
Independence of being.
That's right. Independence of being.
That's the difference. Independence of being. I want to figure it out for myself. Don't be telling me.
Yeah. Or there's more to this. You're not telling me everything. You're giving me like some sort of instruction, and then you're done. But for me, I'm hearing that instruction, and then I'm saying, but why?
Yes.
Where is this
leading?
leading?
And integrity again. You can't accept it if it's not legit. I can't believe it is because you say so.
There it is.
There be some logic to it and some sensibility to it. Yeah.
Yes.
That's independence of being. Same thing. It's part of the same process, and that's a big deal. It's very, very, very important. Yeah. But again, those are stuff that you've acquired at some point of time. Yes. Now, everybody can acquire this, but they have to do it for themselves. And that's the trick. They have to do it by themselves.
Yeah. I just, and I mean, I remember all the way back to like my childhood when there would be some sort of problem between Chrissy and I. And my parents always seemed to like protect Chris, put a little cocoon around her. And with me, I was being corrected and instructed and told how to be and how not to be. And it was, brutally honest Cheryl, and cocoon protected Chrissy over here. And even as a young child, I noticed it, and I needed to understand what the hell was happening here. You know what I mean? I couldn't just blindly go, okay, I won't do that anymore.
Let me ask you in this context. Okay, neither of those two extremes are obviously appropriate, yes?
Right.
They were lacking balance. However, if you had to choose between the two extremes, which would you choose?
I had to choose. I wouldn't be who I am today without being on the other side of the extreme. So I'll stay where I am. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
I'll
I'm just saying.
I'll choose the reality sandwich every day.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah.
I just want to put things in context so that we
Okay.
can have an appreciation. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
some people psychologically aren't set up for subtlety. They aren't set up for balance. They just think black or white. It's extremes for them, right?
yeah,
That's it. Psychologically, that's where they're at. So
yeah,
now, you're forced to choose. Okay, you made the choice which is appropriate for you. That directness. You would the horror of getting on you what your sister got. Oh my goodness, this is worse than hell, right?
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
just a little point of appreciation in there, right?
yeah,
Just
yeah.
the greater
I
magic.
mean, I guess
There's
there's a
always
part of the
more.
little girl that would have liked the hug once in a
Of
while
course, of course,
instead of
of
the
course.
slap up the back of the head. You know what I mean?
Exactly what was appropriate was some measure of balance, not 50-50. No, maybe 95-5, yes, but some measure of balance. But like I said, the psychology at the time of those involved, they didn't have that balanced psychology. They were extreme excess, right? It was either or, black or white.
That's right. Either or. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yep.
it was a choice. In other words, if we go back to that idea of, you choosing the circumstances of your birth, you deliberately choosing those parents. Okay, that's the best you had to work with. All right, so you chose, and that's it. That's what you got. So, and you got to see the horror of the opposite, right? And you got to see the necessity for balance. You got basically a most fantastic primer in the detriments of a black-white psychology.
Okay.
The necessity for appropriateness, this necessity for balance, the necessity for discernment, nuance, subtlety. Yes, the necessity for color. Yeah. Breaking free. I mean, if you think of this as a soul lesson, the advantage of breaking free from the black-white psychology, that's something that's been in us for, millennia, right? It's deep in our DNA. This is something very entrenched in the soul. To break free from that, that's a major, major, major accomplishment. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And the necessity for balance, the necessity for appropriateness. Yeah. And appropriate balance, and understanding that balance isn't 50-50. Sometimes it's 95-5, right? But it's appropriateness, in other words. Yeah. Very powerful. Very powerful lesson, Cheryl. Very, very powerful lesson.
Yeah. No question.
Very powerful lesson.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yes. Very cool. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's something, Cheryl?
Yeah. Yes.
I mean,
absolutely.
Absolutely. All this time, you've been wanting things to change. Now the universe, in what sways the form of Jean-Francois, is there, and it's opened up, and it's happening.
Yes. Yes.
It's
magic.
Don't shut the universe down now, because it's really truly working for you.
You know what? It is now.
Yes.
It is now, thankfully, not in my control to shut it down. I couldn't if I wanted to.
That's right.
So
and look at the beauty of
neither can Greg. Neither can Greg. This train is heading down the tracks.
Force.
What are you doing about it? You gonna lay yourself down on the tracks and let it run you over? You're gonna stand there and watch it go?
Exactly.
Or you're gonna get on that train, drive that train. Greg, you need to be our conductor here. You need to drive this train. We're all on it with you, but you need to drive this train, and it's no longer anything you can stop. It's happening. Nobody can stop it now.
Force of circumstance, right? So this is force of circumstance.
Yes. Powerful force of circumstance. And what an incredibly magical gift. Capital G gift. Yes. And this is what I want to absolutely emphasize, Cheryl, is because these gifts, they come and they go, and they're so magical. We struggle to remember magic. So that's why I want to emphasize it, so that you can, in your mind, say, whoa, yes, gift. This is a big deal. And see that you get this magic in your life. It's a constant in your life. Big time. Very important. Very important. Very cool too. Very, very cool. Most awesomely excellent.
Yeah.
You have lots of magic in your life, Cheryl. It's a fantastic thing. Really beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I'm just now opening my eyes to see it all.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
You know?
Don't push it away now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's why I'm emphasizing it so much.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's just a fantastically magical thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
magic is a very interesting thing because
Yeah.
magic always asks something of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I know getting, okay, half hour. This is my kind of my plan for today. Kind of like to take my seat on the train. So right around in the driveway, this is where we're focusing now. So
Uh-huh.
around the door, the two garage doors and the door that go into the garage, it's kind of some stuff kind of laying around. There's leaves kind of pushed up against the garage door. So I'm thinking when I get done here, I'll go find a hanging flower pot and I'm going to hang the flower. And then I'm going to get out the power washer and the leaf blower and just start cleaning and doing the little things I can do. And in the meantime, I'm going to move some smaller things. And I have a feeling that's going to be like, he'll say, is she starting without me? I need to get involved here. She's starting, she means it. She's starting to clean up. She's doing it
If I
without
don't
me.
get involved, it's going to be out of my control. And then
That's
that's
right. That's right. I just think it'll be a
presenting the
nudge.
lesser of the two evils.
Yeah, I'm not going to call a junk man and tell him to come pick everything up, but I am going to like start doing the little things that I can do.
Yeah.
And let him know that, this is going to happen.
I'm
This
serious.
wasn't just a conversation that we had and you shut it down and you were successful in shutting it down. And Cheryl's going to go in the house and, cook me sausage and peppers and do my wash.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. See, Sue, just really interesting, right? What Cheryl just shared puts us in a very interesting position, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, from a hearing and helping perspective, it's not on us to share an opinion on whether to do this or not.
Mm-hmm.
That's your call. It's not my call.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that's a great idea or not. I mean, I happen to personally think that I trust your integrity and your sensibility and your sense of strategy. And through that trust, I personally think it's a sensible idea, but it's not on me to say.
That's right. And all small changes lead to big transformations. So if your
Trust yourself.
intent is in that direction, then how can it be wrong in it's coming from you. Again,
Yeah.
we're not saying, oh, this is where you should start. That's what we don't do.
Yeah. The only thing that I could say in this is that you've obviously thought about this. It's a deliberate decision. You've thought of the consequences and the parameters involved, and you feel it is appropriate. Your conscience is also clear.
Mm-hmm.
I would assume.
When you were saying earlier, Susie, that like Poppy would, instead of saying great job, he'd say, well, did you do this or did you do that? Okay. Your brother inherited that, no doubt about it. No matter what I have done to make this glorious change, he'll have, instead of saying, wow, that's great, he'll offer more, he'll offer what I didn't do or suggest I do something more, or he'll just start doing more himself.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's even a little bit behind him finishing my garden.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how he would have been if I would have done it start to finish and he had no hand in it whatsoever. I think that would have been very uncomfortable for him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when I start doing little things around the driveway, instead of him going, oh, well, she fixed it, now it's good.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be like, oh, well, she didn't, I could do this. He'll feel the need to improve on what I've done.
Right. He may be so overwhelmed. We don't know what's in his mind, that these little things that you keep choosing to do that you're capable of doing are really a huge help to him. I mean, there's a lot. You and I both know what is involved with just straightening out your own house, not these other properties and trailers and shit like that, But the big question is, what where are you going to go with all this stuff? I mean, what you move, where are you moving it to? Are you just doing things like the leaves and washing down and prettying, you know what I mean?
That's right. And putting things away that, actually have a place. There's like shovels and rakes laying against the garage door and, stuff like that. Those things actually have a place in our world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just stuff out there. There's like like an old spackle bucket sitting there.
Balance again.
Throw that away.
Balance.
Balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I hear you.
Let me ask something. Personality-wise, obviously, Greg has taken on so much of his father now, right? I mean, he's basically just sort of a distorted version of your father to many extents. How was he as a kid? What was his personality as a kid? And when you met him, I don't think I would imagine you wouldn't have fallen in love with his father.
No.
Right, exactly. So when you met him, I can't see these traits being predominant. There must have been other actual Gregness that you connected to. And what was that? If you, in other words, if you subtract the father, what's left? Not now, but then.
He was extremely kind and gentle. I think that that appealed to me.
I see that in him now. It's still there, big time. He doesn't know how to deal with it and how to use it and how to be appropriate.
And I don't think he likes it in himself.
He was also a rebel. He was also
interesting, but that obviously got squashed, that rebelness.
No.
Well, by the father, repressed against, he didn't succeed in being a rebel against the father, no?
Not against the father. No. He found other ways, like he stole from the blind man, and did really stupid things. And, and he could never be wrong. It was always blamed on somebody else when Greg got.
Oh, well, that's carried through.
Yeah.
His ability to take responsibility for his mistakes, choices, errors is still very, very convoluted and missing.
Well, that's the conditioning from my parents, especially my mother. She blamed everything on Bobby Jones.
Okay.
And it's been a family joke. Oh, Greg would have never stole from that blind man if Bobby Jones wasn't there. Greggy's a good boy, and
that leads back to our conversation.
I'm trying to get an insight into Greg as Greg. When you remove the father, what's left?
Artistic, creative. He is very kind. He's very, I feel Greg can be very deep in conversation. Like he's a thinker. He doesn't talk much, but he's a thinker because he listens to so many different people. He's in a crowd and he rarely says anything, but he takes all of that in,
And here's another little sideline that I've known about Greg, I think from the beginning. And that is that externally, he was more compared to Mimi than he was to Poppy.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. He looks like her side of the family. He's got her quietness kind of thing. He's not like Poppy.
Right.
And that for him internally was a source of embarrassment.
Yeah, he was demasculated. It was
demasculating. It was a source of embarrassment. Your father would say to your mom, Marianne, shut up. Right?
Yeah. Did the father call him like sissy and stuff like that?
So he because she was Poppy kind of like looked at Mimi like she was stupid.
Yeah.
Like nothing she said had any value. Shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. And so Greg looked at himself as not intelligent.
Indirectly towards Greg, then, in other words, right? He didn't come directly, but through Mimi, absolutely, yeah.
So Greg looked at himself as not very intelligent. So he started to believe that about himself. To this day, he believes that he's not intelligent. You know what I mean?
But he obviously is.
But he is.
Well, he is. He is. And, and I mean, we've had conversations where he says, okay, we all know that you're the smart one. Well, no, I'm just smart in different ways than you are, Greg. Yes, I am smart. You're smart in different ways, but that doesn't diminish
Right.
your intelligence and your level of understanding. It's just that we're different. And maybe you have things that I'm looking for in me, and maybe I have things that you're looking for in you. And that's what draws us together.
That's
know.
always the case, by the way. It's very insightful, Cheryl. That's why the universe puts you together. Absolutely.
That's right.
It's about the awareness. It's about the learning. Absolutely.
I have to come off. I have to leave for an appointment.
Right,
So
that's right.
you guys finish up, and Cheryl, we'll chat later.
Okay.
All right.
All right, sweetie.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye, love you. Bye.
Why, yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic. This is, I don't mean to make this all about Greg, right?
Well, in this situation,
it can't be avoided.
it is about me.
Yes,
because
my first allegiance is to you.
Yeah, no, this is, I mean, even though Greg seems to be the nucleus here,
It's not.
but
It's
this
about you.
is about me.
Good,
It is.
I'm glad you see that. I'm glad you see that. Right.
It is about me, and it is about taking what I've acquired through our sharing, and it's got to be applicable here. And I need to personally know how to appropriately apply what I have learned. And here is a very serious situation in my husband's life and in mine, most notably his, but he's my husband. He's my chosen partner. And if I was going to walk away, I'd have done it a long time ago. I don't want this to come to a point where it, becomes a problem in our relationship. Because this is not about our relationship. This is about a very serious situation, even illness, and how we're going to deal with it together. If he came home today and told me I have brain cancer, we would deal with it together.
Exactly, Cheryl. Exactly. And that's the way I see it too. And this is my point why bringing Justin into the loop and his brothers. I don't know if you speak to his brothers or whoever else is influential in his life. This is absolutely an illness. There's no doubt about it. I mean, this is like, seriously, at what point don't you think this is an illness? Right. It's like, come on, I mean, it's beyond the point where it's just an eccentricity, yes?
Yes.
It's long since gone past that. When we start to get into the psychology, here's somebody who's living his mother and his father's psychologies and not his own. And that's the real illness, yes? It's like a virus that's taken over your computer. The virus that's his father's crap and some of his mother's crap, that's what's happened in his brain computer. That virus has taken over. It's very simple, really, right? Now, how to deal with that, that's a much more complicated issue, right? This only he can really. So it has to come from the inside, slowly, meticulously, carefully, deliberately. The only trick is to get him to see that he needs to do something about it. Now, whether he actually feels he has a problem or not is irrelevant. That's the point, is he feels he needs to do something, at least to appease the people, to get them off his back. But I'm going to my sessions with Soul. I'm talking to him for 2 hours. Get off my back. That's enough for a start. It doesn't matter. The universe often tricks us into learning. And that's why I don't mind getting him in this for whatever his reasons, doesn't matter. Subconsciously, he does know at some level that he's got a problem. Yes.
Yeah.
He's aware of it. He doesn't want to acknowledge it. Yes, because he has the deeper problem. If he acknowledges he's got the problem, he has to acknowledge that his father is wrong. Wrong. Yeah. That's the stumbling block.
And another reason, if I were to promote some sort of therapy for him, or a therapeutic course, it would be with someone who will recognize his transference, because I can almost promise you that the first couple sessions you have with him, he will attempt to tell you why
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. And that's why I'm
Why I'm
recommending.
responsible for this,
Correct,
for that.
correct.
If Cheryl hadn't done this, or Cheryl
Yes,
didn't do that,
yes. That's why
you will
I am
see that. You'll catch them on it. The minute,
exactly,
you know what I mean? And I
exactly.
remember a lot of therapists allowing me to blame my mother, my husband, my father, my circumstances.
Yes, and
All my
that's
behavior could be boiled
yeah.
down to someone else's problem.
It's why I am in a good position. First of all, I have insight onto both sides. Secondly, I have the integrity to be able to keep it separate and not let one influence the other. Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
thirdly, I am not going to be corrupted by this kind of indulgent bullshit. I mean, we haven't even touched on the psychology of the superiority paradigm, which is so influential here. I mean, that's a huge, big program. So I have an insight into manipulation and this kind of leverage, and it's not going to happen. Plus, then the other side of it is the hearing and the helping. So I am in a very unique spot to be of service to you and Greg in this regard.
Right.
However, it's getting Greg into this, that's the point.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's getting
going
him
to
to
require some finesse and some subtlety.
he,
Yes, I do feel that Sue is also in a position to put some pressure on Greg. So,
yeah.
Sue and Greg and the other two brothers, and maybe even the mother. I don't know if the mother, does she's aware of the hoarding?
Yeah, she's no her.
No. Okay. So she's a hopeless case. Okay. Right. Or the sister even. I don't know.
She's just become a nice old lady. I
Okay.
just,
Oh,
she's a nice old lady.
But Jean-Francois is absolutely a leverage point.
He certainly is, and Greg needs to, because the way that Greg immediately turned on him shocked me. Oh, he's drinking. He's a lunatic. He's got a brain tumor. I don't want his help. He immediately turned on this person who was his ally all these years.
It's philosophy of opposite, right? Philosophy of opposite is a very profound psychology and a philosophy that we'll get into as we go by and by. Him turning on Jean-Francois is because for him, this is an awful truth that he cannot stand. Oh, God, I've lost Jean-Francois. Oh, my God, my world is going to end. So he has to find a justification to rationalize the fact that this has happened. See? So it makes total sense. It's complete and utter sense, right? So that's why Jean-Francois is a force here to really be leveraging. And Jean-Francois has the sophistication to come at it gently. It's why he went to Ross, not a thing. He understands this. Whether it's conscious or subconscious, I don't know. That's why. Ask Jean-Francois just to do one thing, to invite Greg over, show him the garden the way he did it to you. Oh, look how nice this is, and ask him to turn around. Just that. That's all. No more.
Because this was only last summer. Greg left the house and he told me he was doing one thing, maybe going next door to help Jean-Francois with something. He left his phone behind, and bing, up on the phone came, it's an address. I'm here. It's Ridge Avenue in Paxinosa. I thought, what? So I went outside, and Greg's truck was heading down the road, and he wasn't supposed to be going anywhere. He was going outside to see Jean-Francois about something. So I got in my car and I followed him. They were meeting at a house about 3 blocks away who had thrown out all this stuff because they were moving, and they were picking through the garbage together.
This is Jean-Francois and Greg.
Yes.
Interesting. So Jean-Francois has some hoarding in him too, or at least
At one point, he indulged Greg's until he realized that he was now it's affecting him. This might have been a couple of years ago. Was it last summer or the summer before? But I couldn't believe that Jean-Francois was actually indulging in Greg's behavior.
Yeah, it happens. It just because you have a fondness and you see it's important to somebody, and just your innate niceness, you can't help yourself but to be complicit in some way. It's not, it's understandable. It's understandable. And, Jean-Francois, it really sounds to me like quite a sophisticated, complex character.
Oh, he is. He's
not a fool.
He is.
He's got an insight and he understands. And, his comment about the working man being overweight, that's very revealing. in terms of the way his brain thinking. There's a connectivity. He has a sense of propriety, in other words, balance and rightness, which is a peculiar thing to him, in his mind at least. So he sees this thing in Greg, and now he's looking to be nice, but also not to upset the apple cart. Now it's gone too far. So yeah, it's very interesting. He's a complex character. I'm saying that he's right in what he says, but still, no, he's not a fool, and he's not insensitive, in other words. And there is a goodness to him that is looking for some kind of expression. Yes.
Yeah.
So, in his own weird way, he's trying to help and be nice.
I believe it. Yes, I believe he doesn't want to lose Greg's friendship.
Correct.
But he's absolutely willing to, if it continues on the path it's on. So
you said Greg has a deep kindness, and did you say kindness and generosity?
Yeah. No, I don't know about generosity, but kindness. Yes.
Kindness and something else.
Gentle.
Oh, gentle. That's right. Gentle. That's right. Yeah. I knew it wasn't generosity, but it was gentle. That's the thing that people like Jean-Francois respond to. They seeing through, they understand. Here is a special person. That's what you fell in love with too, that kindness and that gentleness.
Yeah.
And that's what Jean-Francois, he's perceptive. He's seeing this. And, he's very much a Frenchie, right?
Yes. He's Parisian to the core. Yes.
Exactly. And it's part of that culture, absolutely, to see and appreciate this and resonate with it. And to, so, when he was originally helping Greg, he's responding to this lost child, really, who he's now making a friend with.
Yeah. So. And I think, after witnessing his rage with Ross, and the next day, me pulling up, and instead of saying, "What's the matter with you?" I said, "Are you okay?"
Yeah. So,
I think that made him feel so much better. Like, okay, I did make a fool out of myself, but Cheryl sees that there was something wrong there. You know what I mean? I just feel
absolutely.
Like I touched him by my reaction.
Yeah. So Jean-Francois can absolutely say, "Look, Greg, as a friend, this is a delicate subject, but you need help, mate. You really do. He can say that.
Yes.
He has a sophistication to know to say that.
Yes.
And like I have to tell you this as a friend. I have to say this. I know
That's right. That's right. And
but and so ask him, please.
It's a bold step for Jean-Francois, because I think Jean-Francois has, is in the boundaries of their friendship, has kind of looked up to Greg. Greg knows how to build all these wonderful things. And, if you saw the artist studio that Greg built to match Jean-Francois's house, it was gorgeous.
But it's shifted now, to understand. Yes, he's looked up to Greg for his.
Yes, now he has to take a different role.
But exactly, but say, look, dude, when it comes to internal and sophistication and sensitivity from a maturity point of view, and from a psychological point of view, you have the opposite of what Greg has, and now you need to help each other out. He's helped you out physically, externally, but you need to help him in this internal, And Jean-Francois also sounds like he's got some stuff going on which he's aware of too.
Yes. Oh yes, don't we all?
Exactly. But he's aware of it. That's my point here. See?
Yeah.
So it's from, look, it's like, you can kind of come from this look from one person who knows that they got stuff to deal with, but this is like, okay, I can manage my stuff, but obviously your stuff is getting out of control, or is already, it's past that point where it needs to be dealt with. Everybody's turned a blind eye, but it can't go, it's going to explode and implode.
Yes. Yes.
So, we're looking at this before it becomes this unsolvable problem. He'll know how to deal with it. It's just, he's at a point where he now knows that he has to say something.
Right.
And if you now ask him, for the garden thing, he'll realize that, and also mention, Greg needs help, but I can't tell it to him, somebody else has. Or I've told him, but it doesn't matter. Coming from me, it just bounces off. It needs to come from outside of me. He'll understand. You're asking him for a favor, and he'll get it. And he owes you one now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he'll want to make up for it because he embarrassed himself a bit, so he'll redeem himself
Yeah,
in a sense,
hopefully.
by doing this. You
Yeah.
see what I mean? Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Just from the little you've shared, I feel absolutely certain. Not only that, but I feel that the universe is taking a hand here.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, so.
Mhm.
So we
Mhm.
trust the universe. We do all we can, and then you trust in the universe, and you use that assistance that the universe is getting. The universe has
Yes.
opened that door a little bit now. It's saying, okay, the rest is up to you. I'll open the door for you. Yeah.
Okay.
Very cool. It's just very, very magically cool, Cheryl. It's
Yeah.
really beautiful. And you know what really just astounds me, amazes me, and impresses me is your sophistication. It's why I love doing this with you. Yes, your understand, your recognition. Hey, I've got to do this. I've got to do this. Just be careful of doing too much, Cheryl. That's all I'm
Okay.
saying. I mean, I
Yeah.
appreciate your earnestness and the intent behind it,
Right.
but prudence, 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 prudence. That's all I'm
Yeah.
on.
That's why I said today I'm just gonna like blow out the leaves, get the power washer out. You know what I mean? This is not gonna go away for you, Craig. You're not gonna come home
Prudence. Ah,
to, sausage and peppers and your laundry folded. You're
there
gonna
you
come
go.
home to your wife
Yeah,
doing what little she can do to make the
exactly.
situation better.
Exactly. And you are not just making it better, but you are looking to assist him in the most diplomatic way you possibly can, and strategic as well. So
Yeah.
it's like, when you operate on that level, in other words, where your conscience is clear, you're doing the right thing. This can only work out right. So we have to trust this. And this is exactly what impeccability is all about.
Right.
We aren't
Yeah.
looking to not to do, but we aren't looking to force things either. We are looking to find that the balance, sophistication, strategy, integrity, intent, and doing. There's actually a doing here. So yes, that's you getting the ball rolling. It's just this stuff
Yeah.
has to be dealt with. Sorry, Greg. You may want to deny reality, but I
That's
cannot.
right. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. I
I
know,
will try and be kind and gentle as much as I
yeah.
can. But
Yeah.
sorry.
It's gonna be painful. It's gonna be painful for you, but you need to face the pain. You can do this. You can do this. We can do this together.
Gently. We can
Yeah,
go about it kindly and gently. It
that's
doesn't
right.
have to be a havoc. It can be little
Yeah.
by little.
I mean, he has to know though, it's gonna hurt. This is not,
Yeah,
it's gonna hurt a little. But it might hurt a lot sometimes, but
exactly.
you can
I
get
do
through
feel
this. It's not gonna
uh,
kill you. It might hurt a
uh,
little. It's not gonna
if
kill you. And the
if Greg
result at the end, think of it as taking out the tumor. You know what? The result in the end
exactly,
is that you get to live a good life.
exactly lancing the boil. Lancing.
Yes, get it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, for me, right, if Greg does commit to at least the 3 months, likely it will be longer than that. I
Okay.
suspect, but that's okay. That's fine, but still, because this is a big deal. But the end result would be Greg will find himself. He'll stop living his father's shadow, father's life, trying to be his father, trying to be his mother, and all this. He'll find his own self, which he's not living, and that's not a fun place to be. I mean, he's excessive in all ways. He works too much. He's all doing all the stuff right. He's not himself. He's lost connection with who he really is. And he's suppressing that, denying it. He's embarrassed about himself in some way, or guilty about being himself. He's guilty about saying to the father, fuck off, you're an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what's going on, and he's trying to not to do that and avoid that because of his kindness and gentleness and things like that.
Yes.
Anyway, there's a lot of stuff, I see a lot with Greg, but the end result is Greg will find himself, and that's the only way this really can do. So Greg's really in a fight for his life here, in his psychological life. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's being smothered and suppressed by the father, physically, literally. He's
Yeah.
hanging on to all of this stuff. He's hanging
Yeah.
on to this idea of the father and, the father's approval and all of this stuff. So, but he has to see that. It's no good us seeing it. Yes.
That's right. That's right.
And
Yeah.
that's the difficult job. That's why it's hard for you to do this, because you have such a big stake in it. I'm on the outside. I can be patient
Yeah.
because I don't feel a pressure that I've
Oh,
got to have this
trust me,
happen.
I've come to that realization that because of who I am to him,
Yeah,
that
exactly.
unfortunately, I just can't have the impact
Exactly.
that I would like to have.
And this is a profound lesson, Cheryl. It's a very, very magical, profound lesson. That ability to let others be and step aside and
mhm.
say, sometimes it's not me that has to do it directly. That's a big lesson, because you have such a power in you to always want to be doing the stuff and doing and dealing with it directly. Yes.
Mhm. Yeah, I have the enthusiasm
Exactly.
to want to,
Exactly. And it's an
make a
excess.
difference.
It's an excess that, as you tempering it, you are learning to temper that and not have it be an excess. And it's an always, like it's like a go-to where it's always the option. It is mostly appropriate, yes, but not always. Right. So to learn to set aside those few little bit of percentage, that's critical, because it's in that times when it's inappropriate, it causes so much trouble, even though it's very seldom that it is so. Yeah. So it's that nuance of understanding that small percentage of the time and have the discipline to be able to go against your innate tendency that says, man, I have to do this. That's an extreme sophisticated discernment and awareness. Yes. Of being.
Yeah.
Powerful stuff. So it takes a lot sometimes to learn a little, but that little makes all the difference, right? It's the fulcrum point. The fulcrum point is very small, but it makes all the difference. Yeah.
If I wouldn't have my Zoom session today, can you think back to the first few minutes when you told me what's happening in my world and I said nothing?
Yeah.
And we've just spent 2 hours talking about nothing.
Yeah. But that's why we
and exploring nothing. And so sometimes I get like a little disappointed in myself that was my answer.
No.
When you said what's
contextual.
happening in your life, I said nothing.
But see, when I say what's happening, it is we tend to think of things in a more usual way, like events and physical stuff, right? So gradually we are going to shift to this happening to see it as abstract, symbolic, metaphorical, figurative. That it's coming. Don't worry about it. It's just that's language, and we have to change that word, what's happening, to say, oh, there's more, right? Magic happens constantly in your life. Gifts happen constantly in your life. Intent happens constantly. Intent materialization happens constantly in your life, right? So that what you just said, you intuitively are now connecting to the moreness. That word happening, you need to put it in your dictionary of power. It's a power word in the sense that you need to expand on it to make it mean more than what you have habitually have so far meant it to be. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
We're getting there. Don't worry about it. Yeah. That's the one thing. Please don't worry. Yeah.
Okay.
It's all coming, Cheryl. It's all coming. It's all coming. So, and that's usually when we ask questions tend to queue, and they tend to lock us in. So questions are very difficult. They're very problematic. So sometimes when we need to get somewhere, we have to come at it from different angles and different little prods and that. Yeah, it didn't take much for this to pop up and say, there is more.
Okay.
Yeah. Everything is connected, Cheryl. Every single thing is connected.
Okay.
Everything. Yes.
Yes.
That's it. That's our big lesson for today.
Okay. Everything is connected.
Every single thing is connected. Nothing is in isolation. Yeah. And it's all connected to you, to us, personally. It's very intimate how this connectivity works. Yes.
Yes.
That's the magic. You actually really are, for real, actually, the center of the universe.
Center of my universe. What else is there, right?
Yes. Correct. Exactly.
Yes. We're all the center of our own universe.
We actually are. I mean, it's not an egotistical thing. Yes,
No,
you can the wrong way and make the ego your center of the universe.
You don't actually mean that figuratively. You just
exactly.
You mean that
the universe is conspiring to revolve around you for your
yes,
like this massive love.
That all things are for your benefit. So
exactly. That's the love of God that people misunderstand. Yes, but they think love in this case, right? Or the universe revolving around you. They want to think of love as being like the baby where you're being protected and nurtured and you're sucking on the teeth. No, sorry, that's not how it works. True love says, I want you to be independent.
Right.
There you
Right.
go. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So we can assume, right, or take it for granted that God is a super sensible being and they are going to love super sensibly.
Okay.
They aren't going to be limited by, mollycoddling or pettiness or, oh, my poor baby. None of that shit. No nonsense, right? They aren't going to indulge you. They're going to do what's best for you, whether it's nice or not. That's the intent. Yes.
Yes.
True love. Big picture love. Yes.
Yes.
That's how the universe works. It will do everything it can to assist you to learn nicely. But if you refuse, if you want to be blind to it, sorry, you're going to get the smack upside the head eventually. That's it.
Yes. Right. Right. Yeah. You'll get an unpleasant lesson. I get it.
It's
Yeah.
the way it works. It's a magical system. But now you see how the stuff is coming at you gently. Yeah. Like this gift now with Jean-Francois. It's a beautiful, magical gift.
That's right. That's right. It's the train is rolling down the tracks, but it could hit a wall. It could hit a wall if you don't.
Exactly. So I would
get involved
with Greg to absolutely just remember one thing. Don't tell, share. Don't tell, share. Don't tell, share. Share, 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 share.
Okay. Okay.
Like, again, when you like take this thing of the universe revolving around us, you can share this with Greg over dinner. We were chatting today and, we were chatting about how actually, us as individuals are the center of the universe. And I was thinking about this. And now you just share your personal opinions and perspectives. All he's doing is getting an insight into what's important for Cheryl. You're not telling him, Greg, this is actually important for everybody in the world. No,
right.
It's important to me. Through this, he's hearing, oh my goodness. And then he can put it together for himself. Well, yeah, that does kind of make sense. Oh, actually universal God love. Oh, wow, yeah. He can put it together. And that's the key. It is for him to put together. Just share. That's all. Very powerful. And it will be very helpful for you too. Basically, when you come and you share your repeat backs and takeaways, just share it with him too. But don't tell. Don't ever tell. That's it.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
It's very powerful. You see the magic of it, yes?
Yes. Yes.
I love it. So awesome.
Okay.
Brilliant, Cheryl. Brilliant. Always
all
love
right.
it.
Well,
so
I'll see you Thursday. I'll be here before you know it. I'll see you on Thursday.
I know. I'm looking forward to it. I do. I really look forward to these, Cheryl. They are very
I do too. Oh, I do too. Cool. Like I said, it's amazing how I sat down today and had really nothing going on. But maybe my brain was just taking a little snooze on me there.
Because we do that when there's so much.
Yeah.
Then the brain says, it's like too much, but
yeah.
And that's really the issue with Greg. There's too much in his life.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
He's externalizing it and he knows he can't let it go because
and I've said to him in the past, I said, or I've read to him like something I've read about clutter and chaos creates clutter and chaos in the brain. And I shared that with him, and I'd say, like, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like the clutter that's around our house and our areas, does it affect you? And he said, no. He said, I've got plans for all those things.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I said, the feeling you get when you come home. I've had a day off and I've shined up everything. The whole house is shining like a pretty brand new penny. You know that feeling you get when you walk into the room and it's shining like a brand new penny? Do you ever get that feeling when you walk into your garage? He said, no, but what can I do about it now?
Yeah. And that's the bigger, deeper psychological problem. He does want that, but he realizes he's lost control of the things and he's got too much and he's sort of sunken into the spiral, and the overwhelm is leading to procrastination.
Yeah.
It's very typical. Whenever you deal with procrastination, inevitably people are trying to avoid overwhelm. because they don't see a way out. It's too much. They see it's impossible. There's no way out of this. And now it's not the physical overwhelm that's the issue for Greg. It is the psychological overwhelm. That's the issue. He thinks there's an unsolvable problem, which is how to deal with this issue with him and his father.
Yeah.
And his mother too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why patience, slowly, delicately, you know.
Okay. All right,
Fantastic.
Sil.
Fantastic.
I
I
should
love
get
it. I
going.
love it.
I'll talk to you on Thursday.
Yes, yes.
All right.
You can always text, you know that, right?
All right. Yeah, that whole 928, that is a phone number I could text to if I needed to.
Correct.
Right.
Or just, you know, message me on Facebook, either way.
Or message. Okay. Okay.
Same thing, yeah. I just meant, you know, type of, you know, stuff. You don't always have to come. Okay.
Okay.
You know, like during in between, in other words, you know, you can always, like you have before, it's cool, you know.
All right.
Yeah. If it's long
Okay.
stuff, you can email it too. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Bye-bye, Cheryl. Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah,
Take care.
I love it, Cheryl. Bye-bye. You too. You too.